Hello, good morning, and welcome once again to Africans Online. Today is the 19th day of the 6th month of 2017, and my name is Nwachukwu Emmanuel. As we all know, a lot of things has been going on within these few days about the nation Nigeria concerning the agitation of Biafra. And what has been having have a little bit struck people off their feet on what they are pursuing, and we have had a lot of deliberations on that front. But today, Africans Online, we are going to concentrate now on our own agenda, what our mission is, what we really are called for when it comes to the Biafra movement, what we have, and what we believe is the right thing for the Biafran people to do. Right in our station here, as a matter of fact, we have a roadmap for a successful movement to a free nation of Biafra. It's a holy blueprint to Biafra. With motto charity begins at home. It has a 14-year time frame with a possible 7 years extension if found guilty of lack of belief. What this means is that the Biafran roadmap is a roadmap that has a time frame, and the time frame is 14 years for Biafran to be achieved. But there is an implication of another 7 years in addition if we don't follow what we are going to outline here or what is outlined on the Holy Blueprint. This is a progressive roadmap broken into three categories with three 7 years program totaling a 21-year time frame period. You know, why you have broken into three is because we have 14 years. If you break it into two, it's going to give you 7 years, and if you break it into three again, it's going to give you 21 years. The last 7 years addition is one that is the Biafrans will not like to go into. I will not like us to attain that very high. I would like it to end in 14 years. But that 21 years, the additional 7 years there is as a result of punishment to the Biafran people if we don't follow what is written here. What is written here is not something uh, anybody is begging anybody to follow. It is the word of God. It is the plans of God for Biafra. It is not something somebody is campaigning and begging people, because the Biafran movement has actually went from humans' hand and ideas to the heavenly ideas and pursuit for that very holy land. That is why we have a holy blueprint to Biafra. I don't know if our automated machine it has been giving a lot of problems since morning, but I don't know if it's going to allow us use it to read effectively this roadmap and explain where possible. Now let's see if our
roadmap for a successful movement to a free nation of Biafra. The Holy Blueprint to Biafra. Motto: charity begins at home.
it's like we're having delays in reading of this very document with the automated machine.
Deadline: 14 years time frame with a possible 7 years extension if found guilty of lack of belief. Implementation.
We're having a little problem here with the machine as to get this thing fast and running. and we apologize for that. We really sincerely
This is a
apologize.
progressive roadmap broken into 3 categories with 3 times 7 years program. Totaling a 21 years time frame period. The Biafran Holy Blueprint concluded based on the realities of the time we live in, after assessment of conditions around the world, its affection to Nigeria and Biafra in context, the struggle, the people, and their plans. 1. Encouragement for the people to start healing their wounds, starting by promoting faith and belief on plausible ideologies and strategies even when they do not necessarily represent one's views and ideologies. Based on that, this 7 pages front and back Holy Blueprint to Biafra document will emerge as implementations take effect. Mindful of the fact each page carries action points which must be observed one before another. This introductory information is part of page 1, so please take note of the action points, which will run concurrently for 2 years. 2017 to 2019, Acknowledgement, Understanding, and Implementation. Note, the 14 years time frame has a lot to do with the obtainable governmental structure/s in Nigeria, most importantly the electoral system and the Nigerian democratic system of governance. Working in agreement with the motto charity begins at home, people should be left with no option than to start from themselves, then expand just a little further into the first arm of governance within the family, consisting of you and the next brother, the compound, the village/community, then the local government up to state level. Each 7 years strategic breakdown/action points first 7 years, known as Secret Strategic Build-up Action Point 1, A/P. Resetting of mindsets into believing mistakes has been made from all angles which include self, due to somewhat short-sightedness or short-handedness in thinking, saying and doing. Ego management. 2. A/P. Unification, sensitization, mobilization, and socialization of the people into possibly one political platform to enable overtaking of our geographical space, politically come 2019. Focus on the ground now. Building communal uniformity by influential stronger Biafra-minded individuals with a well-scrutinized vetting process to select candidates for any upcoming elections. 3. A/P. This secret strategic buildup also applies to the handling of this framework, roadmap. The availability of this document into the public domain is highly restricted as it is classified, for fear of polarization, misuse, and abuse into a propaganda material which may be detrimental to our success. Therefore, only a handful of selected officials, witnesses, and document authors are authorized to assess this material. More action points in regards to this first 7 years will be calculated and implemented if need be as time goes on. Second 7 years, known as accountability and possession. The occurrences of the then will be last 6 years, 2017-2023 will account for all successfully executed project and also failed ones. the impact of which shall affect the then will be last 7 years will shed light on further procedural arrangements, action points, focused towards the next 7 years. This 7 year is critical to the movement and the people, in the sense it should mark the last 7 years of A1 Nigeria. With overwhelming support and occupation of dedicated and Biafran-minded individuals into many seats of power within our geographical/political space, bills calling for referendum should by then be on discussion. At that point, serious highly diplomatic talks should be activated with interested and relevant international partners/nations. The Biafran movement/struggle should also activate any aggressive but responsible, plausible, and lawful methodology, since there will be people within the arms of the government of the land and in the diplomatic affairs. This leverage will help gain friends and sympathizers from placed individuals, governments, organizations, etc., around the world.
So let's discuss this blueprint so far. Why there are the in-depth. This is just the brief of the blueprint. The action points are well classified and well documented, but this is just a brief of what the three broken categories looks like. The 7 year broken categories. This is what exactly they look like. It says the first one is to encouraging of our people to start healing their wounds, starting by promoting faith and belief on plausible ideologies and strategies, even when they do not necessarily represent one's view and ideology. This means that our people have to start healing from inward, trying to respect one another's ideologies and not attack them by anger and insult. It says encouragement for the people to start healing their wounds, starting by promoting faith and belief on plausible ideas and strategies, even when they do not necessarily represent one's ideology or views. Now, what are the plausible ideologies and strategies that one need to promote, and how do you recognize which ones are the plausible ideologies to promote? Now, all you need to do is to look into the various systems by which other nations around the world, or legal means by which the international organization or international law has declared as a plausible means of self-determination. Then that will bring you to encouraging people who are in court with the Nigerian government. That will also allow you encourage people moving into the houses of assemblies, senate, and all other various seats that matters to help us vocally by legal means put up bills, and by written documents also argue bills that will represent our pursuit. So you only need to make a little research about what are the plausible means of achieving freedom fighting. Based on that, these 7 pages, because this is a 7 pages of front and back holy blueprint to Biafra, is a document. and it will emerge as we implement. The revelations, they are classified. So what is going to happen is little action points will be revealed, and as we implement, more of the classified documents will be declassified for us to continue our pursuit with, for us to engage, for us to know exactly the route, the line, the blueprint to follow. That's what it means here. And it says it have to be in, it will emerge as we implement, mindful of the fact it carries an action point which must be observed one before another. That is, it has action points to follow. What the Holy Blueprint will be indicating or directing us to do from one time to another. So, and it is according to how we implement what has been given to us that another action point will emerge based now on declassified informations that will come from this classified document. So that is how we are about to receive our informations, our strategic plans, our support to the plans or the strategies that we make. We are going to get action point supports that are going to help us successfully carry out our ideologies and strategies. And this very declassified introductory information is part of page one of the 7 pages. So it says, take note of the action points herein. There are action points that we are going to talk about. This is the action points for the first 7 years. And it's also, we continue to inform us that more action points will continue to emerge as we declassify the informations and as time goes on, depending on what the conditions are. So note, the 14-year time frame has a lot to do with the obtainable governmental structures in Nigeria, most importantly political and electoral system and the Nigerian democratic system of governance. We read that again. Note, the 14-year time frame has a lot to do with obtainable governmental structures in Nigeria. These 14 years have a lot to do with obtainable governmental structures. The presidential structure, the presidency, which is the presidency, you have the senatorial, the gubernatorial, the legislative, the judicial. All forms of structures are hereby included or in view when you are talking about this very roadmap. Most importantly, the political and electoral system and the democratic system of governance in Nigeria. This is where it touches most. This is where we have to pay most attention, much attention to the political system, electoral system, democratic system of governance. And we should be working with the agreement that charity begins at home. When you say charity begins at home, you are definitely start saying that everything starts from you because you are the first home you have before you talk about the external home you live in. So let's start from inward ourselves to think. People should be left with no option than start from themselves, then expand a little further to the first arm of governance within your family, consisting of your next brother, the compound, the village, and then local government plus up to state level. In this case, when you first of all review your mindset, know that you have to take these action points that enables you or requires you to engage your brothers, to retune and retrace your steps. This is what it means by encouraging people to start healing their wounds by starting promoting the faith and belief in plausible ideologies. You have to heal your wound. You have to understand what the other man's idea is. It doesn't mean that you must agree with it, but sometimes you differ, but you have to do that politely. That is where we really need to go inward to start, but from ourselves, knowing that charity begins from home, and that home starts from you. Before you can now tell your mission, your vision, your acceptance, your disagreements, or whatever you have, before you can sell it to the next partner, you have to clean it up. You have to address it in a decent way. Then now extend it to your next brother, to the compound, to the village community, and then we can start going to the state and the federal level. Now we are going to deal with the each 7 year strategic breakdown. The first year, 7 years, is known as secret strategic build up. This very content here have a highly classified setting. We have a continual a program that is sensitive because it is dogged. Secret strategic build up. This is something that the rest of the information is is tight, but we are going to capitalize on the declassified ones, which action point ones is resetting of mindset into believing that mistakes has been made from all angles, which includes self. Which includes selves here is still brings us back to this very point of charity beginning at home. You have to count on yourself first, believing that if there are mistakes, like we know there is a lot of mistakes that have been made going forward, that those mistakes have been made also by you, that you are a contributor to the mistakes that have been made in the Biafra struggle. If you have that mindset, first of all, then you can retune yourself. This has to do with the followers and especially all those leaders that are championing this very cause. They are the ones to take this roadmap fully into consideration and do all what it will take them to implement. They are the ones, they are the reasons that we are having the problems we are having. They are the ones driving our shadows. Where they go is where we are moving with them. That is why also there's frustration because there's a lot of them moving in different directions. So people are just sometimes confused. That is why they should also reflect themselves that mistakes has been made from all angles, including themselves, due to somewhat short-sightedness. Sometimes they are short-sighted or short-handedness. They can't be able to afford to do what they really want to do. Sometimes financial difficulties in their thinking, saying, and doing. You see, sometimes people don't see so far. They only restrain themselves from what they have around them, not actually trying to look beyond their own camp. So this with this kind of ideology, our people make a lot of mistakes. They are so short-sighted. Some other people are short-handed in the sense they don't have enough to live to their programs, their ideologies, sometimes plausible ones, very wonderful ideas that cannot go nowhere because of financial difficulties. This has occurred in so many ways in how the people think. They have been short-handed or short-sighted in their thinking and their saying and in their doing, which brings us to what we all know is happening in this very struggle, which is ego management. Then if we go to the action point two of what we are supposed to be doing, unification, sensitization, mobilization, and socialization of the people into possible one political platform to enable overtaking of our geographical space politically come 2019. When we remove any form, any spirit of egoism in us, when we can adjust, understand the fact that we have been part of the confusion and try to make adjustments towards that. When we can reset our minds in believing that there is a lot of mistakes everywhere because of so many reasons, then we can start unifying, sensitizing, mobilizing, and socializing our people into possibly one political platform. We just need it. We need one political platform for the Biafran people because this movement is a 14-year program. We have to be organized. We have to go into the government to talk with the government. If we stay outside, we will not have the support from the international community. The only way the international community start talking about you when you are outside the government is when you are using violence. Then they can talk to you, they can respond to you in their own way. Maybe sometimes favorable, it might be favorable to you, depending on your relationship, the country's relationship, which I believe we don't have much good relationship with the world, depending on what they know us to be. Now, they can also turn around and label you whatever if you are outside the government and you use violence, which is the only way they can get hear you. That's the only way you gain attention. The only other things you do when you are outside the government professionally, following the rules and regulation of whatever the government, international community says, will be downplayed. They are not going to put you on scale. You can do that for years and years and years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, unless you go explosive. But in an event, we don't want to go explosive. That we believe that our approach should be cordial, our approach should be lawful. In that event, that means the only thing we can do to be identified is to be in the government. And being in the government, we know, is a 4-year program. So with that, we know that it's going to take some years for us to hook on and start being relevant in a good way, in a positive light to the international community. It's not being relevant. You can be relevant, irresponsibly relevant. But we want to be relevant in a lawful, in a responsible, and also in a sense that it's not going to harm our people, most of all. So we should be unifying ourselves, sensitizing ourselves, mobilizing ourselves, and socializing within us in order to take over our geographical space And we can only do that politically come this 2019. Focus now on the ground should be building communal uniformity by influential, stronger Biafran-minded individuals with well scrutinized vetting process to select candidates for any upcoming election. The only thing we have to do, the plan goes so. We have to now start building a communal uniformity by influential, stronger Biafrans. We have to go and scrutinize, vet, serious search for those people who are Biafra minded and select them for the upcoming election. Any upcoming election at any time now, we should be ready with our own candidates that we have vetted fully, knowing fully well that they are not. We cannot just stop or continue by saying, oh, when you vote them in, they are going to turn around. I don't believe that person, the person you vote in who turns around, has never been an activist, have never been somebody who is passionate about this. If you are passionate, if your life is for this, my brother, there's no going back. Those people you vote in there are people who are not properly vetted. When we vet them, scrutinize them to understand, put them on oath if possible, then we will have candidates that we are going to trust. That will be our ideal candidate, the kind of candidates we want. And that is the most important thing that we are looking for at this point in time. And we have just some couple of years now, not so long again. 2 years, 3 years to do that. 2 years. 2019 is another election season, and we should be ready before then. Now, this goes to the third action point here. It goes to how it says this secret strategic build-up also applies to the handling of this framework roadmap. The strategic build-up also applies to this very document because it is classified, because that's why it is also among the secret build-ups. So the document itself is among the first action point. What the activities, the way we handle these documents is also involved in our first action point, meaning that this document strategic build up also applies to the handling of this framework roadmap. The availability of these documents into the public domain is highly restricted as it is docked classified for fear of polarization, misuse, and abuse into a propaganda material which may be detrimental to our success. I hope everybody understands what that means because of the nature of what is reading hearing, the plan, the strategies that only a few hands, only a few people who are working on it uh, have the access to. Because of that, the makeup of what the content is, this document is docked classified for fear of polarization, misuse, and abuse into a propaganda material which may be detrimental to our success. Therefore, only a handful of selected officials, witnesses, and document authors are authorized to access these materials. More action points in regards to the first 7 years will be calculated and implemented if need be as time goes on. So what it says is now there's an action point we can see here. The first action point here is to reset our mindset into believing that mistake has been made in all angle, which includes every one of us due to some sort of short-sightedness or short-handedness in our thinking, saying, and doing. That means we have to work on our ego management. That is action point one. Then the action point two goes on to say unification, sensitization, mobilization, and socialization of our people into possibly one political platform to encourage overtaking of our geographical space politically come 2019. This is action point two. And action point two is followed by actions that have been going on the ground now. The actions on the ground now by people who knows what this about this um, roadmap. What they are doing now is they are building communal uniformity by influential, stronger Biafrans, minded individuals. These people, I don't know, I cannot give the Biafran people the exact answer to this because I'm not at home. But we have this document, which we believe also the people back home who understand what is herein is they have it and they are working with it. We believe that the people who are now the candidates, we have seen one or two for the Anambra also, uh, are well scrutinized, vetted before their selection as candidates. These are the two action points that matter. And also the handling, the third action point only explains how we should handle this very document itself, the secrecy in it. That is what it means. And it also informs us that more action points in regards to these first 7 years will be calculated and implemented if need be as time goes on. If there's any need for more calculations, more action points to be declared, declassified, and presented, that will be done as time goes on. The calculation will be made and the action will be taken. Second 7 years is known as accountability and possession. The occurrence of the then will be last 6 years, 2017 to 2023. From 2017 to 2023 now will be last 6 years. If we get to 2023, then it will be 2017 will be the last 6 years of 2023. The actions of this time will account for all successful executed projects and also failed ones. We will use the time to see what we did wrong and what we did right. Then we can go from there. The impact of which shall affect the then will be last 7 years will shed light on further procedural arrangements. What happens? From what happens is how you calculate. What we have right now is the action point, full action point with possible amendments depending on time because we still have 2 years to go. We have full action points of the first 7 years. We still have 4 years to go, or 7 years to go in that. But the action point, at least we have action point that will lead us to 2019 here, declared now. This is what we mean because what we are trying to do here is to overtake our geographical space come 2019 as read here. So we have an action point that goes up to 2019 to get us somewhere. Then after that, what happens 2019 and what goes on up to 2023 will account for all successful executed projects and also failed ones, the impact of which shall affect the then will be last 7 years will shed light on the procedural arrangements upon action point. It will now provide the procedural arrangement for the next action point. Focus towards the next 7 years. That action point now will be the focus towards the next 7 years. This 7 years is critical to the movement of the people In the sense, it marks the last 7 years of a one Nigeria. It should mark by right, according to the 14 years program. The first 7 years goes by, that means 2019, we have a lot of people in the House, in Senate, in local governments. Then these people will start their job. What they are going to do then will take them to 2013, when we have another 2023, when we will have, sorry, 2023, when we will have another election. That is what it means. It will carry them now. What they are going to do, staying there, is going to affect the next 7 years. That from there now, the next action points will be set, focusing on the next 7 years. This 7 years is very critical because it should mark the last 7 years. By then, we should have enough people with overwhelming support and the occupation of the, the dedicated Biafran minded individuals into many seats of power within our geographical political space. Bills calling for referendum should be on discussion at that point. When they get in 2019, they start to work up to 2023. A lot of things, if they are fully vetted, if they are doing our job, there should be bills, and the 2023 is going to mark another breaking point where we have much more people entering into the Senate, government houses, and all these other places within the next 7 years that is going to make up the 14 years. So we are going to have an upper hand because of our representation there are in the House. So bills calling for a referendum be taken, should by then be on discussion. Then serious, highly diplomatic talks should be activated with international interested and relevant international partners, nations. When we achieve this height of of growth, that we have our people in the House, in the Senate, in local government chairmans, and everywhere, then our people discussions, it will be easier now for us to engage the international community without labeling us one stupid thing or another, because these are people who are into the government of Nigeria now, going to discuss with our international brothers, partners, or whatever you want to call them. Then they will be respected. They will be now addressed as diplomats and not activists. Very important to state with this now. Serious, highly diplomatic talks should be activated with interested and relevant international partners or nations. The Biafra movement struggle should also activate at that very juncture any aggressive but responsible, plausible, and lawful methodology, since there will be people within the arms of government in the land and in the diplomatic affairs. That leverage, if we gain that leverage, will help us make friends, sympathizers from placed individual governments, organizations, NGOs around the world. When we get there, that last 7 years will become a success. This is our message for this morning. This is Africans Online Network. Wanchukwu Emmanuel is my name. I would like you to repeat this over and over and over, but we are going to close by trying once again to read in full. If the machine will give us a clear view or a clear voice this time of what the document says, we'll be happy before we close to play it at its fullest. At least this very declassified section and brief about what we have.
Roadmap for a successful movement to a free nation of Biafra.
It's not going easily. It's not, the machine is not rolling as we
The
intend.
Holy Blueprint to Biafra.
It's taking some time. When it gets to a full stop, you have to take your time and listen again.
Motto: Charity begins at home. Deadline: 14 years time frame with a possible 7 years extension if found guilty of lack of belief.
That is implementation.
Implementation.
Yeah. Coming late.
This is a progressive roadmap broken into 3 categories with 3 times 7 years program. Totaling a 21 years time frame period. The Biafra Holy Blueprint concluded based on the realities of the time we live in, after assessment of conditions around the world, its affection to Nigeria and Biafra in context, the struggle, the people, and their plans. 1. Encouragement for the people to start healing their wounds, starting by promoting faith and belief on plausible ideologies and strategies even when they do not necessarily represent one's views and ideologies. Based on that, this 7 pages front and back Holy Blueprint to Biafra document will emerge as implementations take effect.
It's taking a hell long.
Mindful of the fact each page carries action points which must be observed one before another.
We are sorry for this very delay.
This introductory information is part of page 1, so please take note of the action points, which will run concurrently for 2 years.
2 years.
2017 to 2019, Acknowledgement, Understanding, and Implementation. Note: the 14 years time frame has a lot to do with the obtainable governmental structure/s in Nigeria, most importantly the electoral system and the Nigerian democratic system of governance. Working in agreement with the motto "Charity begins at home," people should be left with no option than to start from themselves, then expand just a little further into the first arm of governance within the family, consisting of you and the next brother, the compound, the village/community, then the local government up to state level. Each 7 years strategic breakdown/action points first 7 years, known as Secret Strategic Build-Up Action Point 1, A/P. Resetting of mindsets into believing mistakes has been made from all angles which include self, due to somewhat short-sightedness or short-handedness in thinking, saying and doing.
Which is ego management.
Ego management.
Yeah.
2. A/P. Unification, sensitization, mobilization, and socialization of the people into possibly one political platform to enable overtaking of our geographical space politically come 2019. Focus on the ground now, building communal uniformity by influential stronger Biafra-minded individuals with a well-scrutinized vetting process to select candidates for any upcoming elections. 3. A/P. This secret strategic buildup also applies to the handling of this framework roadmap. The availability of this document into the public domain is highly restricted as it is classified, for fear of polarization, misuse, and abuse into a propaganda material which may be detrimental to our success. Therefore, only a handful of selected officials, witnesses, and document authors are authorized to assess this material. More action points in regards to this first 7 years will be calculated and implemented if need be as time goes on. Second 7 years, known as accountability and possession. The occurrences of the then will be last 6 years. 2017-2023 will account for all successfully executed project and also failed ones. The impact of which shall affect the then will be last 7 years will shed light on further procedural arrangements, action points, focused towards the next 7 years. This 7-year is critical to the movement and the people, in the sense it should mark the last 7 years of A1 Nigeria. With overwhelming support and occupation of dedicated and Biafran-minded individuals into many seats of power within our geographical/political space, bills calling for referendum should by then be on discussion. At that point, serious highly diplomatic talks should be activated with interested and relevant international partners/nations. The Biafran movement/struggle should also activate any aggressive but responsible, plausible, and lawful methodology, since there will be people within the arms of the government of the land and in the diplomatic affairs. This leverage will help gain friends and sympathizers from placed individuals, governments, organizations, etc., around the world.
Yes, my brothers and sisters of Biafra, with that, we will finally come to the end of this morning's edition. I hope if you have time, you can go over this very information over and over again, hear it time without number to understand it, spread it, share it, because it is the line of action that is going to get us Biafra. And what we have is the cheapest means, the cheapest, the best time frame, and the best method. And also, we are being pushed by the highest of the highest of the highest of them all, God Almighty. So, my brothers and sisters, I say, I remain blessed, and I say thank you very much for being part of the program this morning, and goodbye.